Alright, so today we're going to be tying kind of a modified woolly bugger style jig. We're going to be using some polar chenille, which is a really cool material. So to get started, we're just going to get our jig head and get our thread coming back on that. So get that going. We're going to work our thread all the way back in. And yeah, so work that back here. Once we get back, we're going to tie in our tail. So I have some marabou that I've stripped off the end of the feather here. We're going to use that for a tail. So when I'm doing woolly bugger flies or woolly bugger style jigs, I like my thread to come, my tail to start right around where the hook point is, and then I like my tails to be right around the length of the hook shank. Not much longer, not much shorter. It seems to give you a good look there. So we're just going to take our marabou and we'll hold it where we want it, and then just come in with our other hand to pinch it in place. Just make sure it's on there nice and straight. Get a few good wraps on there. Then we'll trim off this excess here. You can, if you're worried about the body not being uniform, you can actually lay that excess down and run it all the way up to the head and then wrap thread over the top of it. But we're not doing a super bushy tail, so we don't really have to worry about that right now. So next we're going to come in with our polar chenille, and this is actually what's going to make up the kind of the body and the hackle all in one. So we're going to get that tied in. And so once that's nice and secure, we're going to work that thread almost to the very front. We're going to come in with a collar a little bit later, so we're not going to go all the way up to the front. So now we're just going to wrap this polar chenille forward, and so it's just kind of like working with like a marabou if you're wrapping that, where you're just going to kind of just wrap it up, and then just as you're going, just kind of brush those fibers back. And it's a nice and forgiving product to work with. It's got the kind of the strays going every which way, so it doesn't, it's not like you're having to be too incredibly neat. If you're finding you're getting things really trapped in there, you can come in with like a needle and kind of pull them out like that. So just continue working that forward and just constantly brushing for those fibers back. So we're just working this up. Keep pulling the fibers back. You kind of want them, kind of touching, but if you can see if you can come over the top and overlay something you've already done, it's not a huge deal. And we're almost there. Alright, so that should be about good there. So once we get up here, we're going to pull that material forward, then just bring the bobbin over, 2-3 times. Usually good to hold stuff in place. You can kind of come in, trim that up there. And then once I get it all trimmed up, I like to pull everything back and then just give it a few more wraps just to know everything's good and secure in there. So now we're going to come in, we're going to make a little collar here. So we have a prepped up piece of schlappen, and we're just going to tie that in. Sometimes I'll trim all this fluffy stuff off, sometimes I'll leave it. So we're going to pull that polar chenille back out of the way, get this schlappen secured in here. So once that's in there, I like to pull it up and then just kind of fluff that out, and that makes it kind of lay down a little bit better. And then just kind of the same deal, do some wraps, work the fluff back there, work those fibers back. it's kind of up to you how big of a, how big of a collar you want relative to your to the body of it and how bushy you want it. So that looks about good there. So we'll get that stuff kind of backed out, then come through, material forward, and then just come behind it with that, with your thread. Then you can kind of fluff all that stuff back. I'm going to come in here and trim this up. So, get that trimmed over there. Then we'll just kind of come in and secure that all down. Now, I'm almost done here. Just give it a little half hitch. Wood finish trimmer thread now. And then most of my salmon and steelhead stuff I hit with a little bit of super glue right there at the end. And this here would be a nice little steelhead jig. I bet you could do it in pink for some humpies. Maybe a smaller version, pink and white for some dollies. But that is it. Kind of a little modified woolly bugger style jig.